weekend. A lot of people travel and whatnot. Let's be in prayer for them as they travel to and fro. We're going to be reading a lot this morning. So I've been practicing out from the hills. We don't do a lot of that. We're going to start Matthew 26, verse 47. Matthew 26, verse 47. If you would please stand for reading the Word. Here we're looking at an event that happened. This is a very tumultuous time, tough time here. Jesus is being arrested. And we see here in Matthew 26, verse 47, it says, "While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. The one I kiss is the man, arrest him. Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, 'Greetings, Rabbi,' and kissed him. Jesus replied, 'Friend, do what you came for.' Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. 'Put your sword back in its place,' Jesus said to him, 'for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen in this way?' At that time Jesus said to the crowd, 'I am leading a rebellion, that you have come out with swords and clubs to capture me. Every day I sit in temple courts teaching, and you did not arrest me. But this has all taken place that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled.' Then all the disciples deserted him and fled." Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we're just so grateful to be here, so honored and privileged to be in your presence as always, Lord. We're just so thankful that every time we gather, we know you're here with us, and your Spirit has always felt. And that is a great, great honor, Lord. It's something we should never take for granted, never think is a normal thing, Lord. It's a supernatural and extraordinary event every time. Lord, we ask right now that you just open our ears to hear and understand your words, Lord, that today a blessing will take place in each and every individual's life, Lord. And we'll give you the praise and give you the glory. And everybody says, Amen. All right, we're going to kind of continue on in the slump series. I talked about it last week. We talked about slumps, and we went through tragedy. We went through monotony. We went through the good times. It can kind of sometimes find us in a bad place. But today I want to talk about this morning. I want to look at those moments when we deal with hurt. It's not an easy subject to navigate, but it's needed. When hurt is not dealt with correctly, many bad things often happen, doesn't it? Friendships are damaged severely, if not permanently. Church or ministry decisions made for the wrong reasons. Personal decisions become made without prayer or wisdom. They're just made out of emotion. And one's life, I think this is powerful, one's life it becomes governed by avoiding hurt instead of functioning the way God is will. In other words, when we fail to handle hurt the proper way, our life becomes dictated on avoiding it completely. And when we start being driven by that, if you're driven by not getting hurt, you ain't really living life, because you're going to in life get hurt. But if that becomes your life, I'm going to do everything in my power not to get hurt because I don't want to deal with hurt, then before long, you're completely out of the will of God. You're really not even living at all. So today we're going to talk about dealing with hurt. So I just read the story of the arrest of Christ in Matthew. This is such a big event, an important event. I think it's obvious by the fact that it's in Matthew, Luke, and John. So we're going to move forward now. I'm going to read the Luke because each one has a little tidbit. People say, how can this be that you can have so many events in the Bible that are the same, but they're different? There's got to be something wrong with the Bible if that's the case, because it's not all the same. But I guarantee you, if after service you said what happened in church and you asked Rob, he's going to have a different viewpoint than somebody in the back, right? Or he's going to have a different viewpoint than somebody in the side. And that's what we've got to remember about the Bible. This is different people's viewpoint of what happened. Some people may have missed what someone else saw. Some may have saw what somebody else didn't see. So it's so important that you take the whole the whole New Testament and each event, and you put it together because that gives you a very clear picture of what happened. So here we see Matthew, we just read that. Now let's move forward to Luke. In Luke 22:49, we see it says, while he was still speaking, a crowd came up, and the man who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading him. He approached Jesus to kiss him. But Jesus asked him, Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? When Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, they said, Lord, should we strike with our swords? And one of them struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. But Jesus answered, no more of this. And he touched the man's ear and healed him. Then Jesus said to the chief priests, the officers, the temple guard, and the elders who had come for him, I am leading a rebellion, that you have come with... Am I leading a rebellion, that you have come with swords and clubs? For every day I was with you in the temple courts, and you did not lay a hand on me. But this is your hour, when darkness reigns. All right, let's go one more time now to John. Just a little different, isn't it? You see a little different viewpoint, a little where one scene said something a little different, but it's equally important to the story. All right, verse 18, 10 through 11 is what I'm going to read here. I'm going to move forward. It says, when Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear, the servant's name was Malchus, Jesus commanded Peter, put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me? With its commander and the Jewish officials, then the detachment of soldiers with its commander and the Jewish officials arrested Jesus. They bound him. All right, so let's look at this. We see three different events. We see three different things that happen, or the same event, three different ways, and they all happen, and they all create a hurt, do they not? There's a hurt there. I mean, that's a pretty obvious hurt. So let's look at the three characters in this event. I guarantee you sometime in life, if you live life, if you don't live a life trying to, I don't really think you can live a life avoiding hurt. You may try really hard. You may say, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to avoid hurt at all costs. But you're still going to fall into it now and then. You are. You're going to fall into it now and then. And you're going to find yourself at one end of the sword or the other. We have two people here. We have Peter. He's got the sword. Okay? And then we see the servant Malchus. He's at the other end of the sword. In life, we're going to find ourselves at one end of the sword or the other. Probably both ends before our life is over. Yeah. And how we deal with it will determine our walk with God. Do you understand that? Yeah. How we deal with it determines our future, which path we take. And today, that's what I believe this story shows how important it is to deal with hurt. And how important it is to go to Jesus with your hurts. So let's look at the three people in this story. First, let's look at Malchus. He was a servant. Malchus's hurt was pretty obvious. He lost an ear. But his hurt, I believe, was a matter of trust. That's what probably hurt him more than anything. Malchus, this guy, could have blamed a whole lot of people for what happened to him, couldn't he? How'd you like to be? I mean, I know that they're kind of, let's just face it, the devil used these people to get Jesus, right? So it's very easy to look at this event and look at him and say, he's a worker of the enemy. And not like it. We should tuck the other ear off. Couldn't hurt nothing. Chop them both off. But we got to remember, Malchus is just doing his job, right? He got up that morning, probably like every other morning. The high priest came to him and said, hey, we're going on a trip. We're going to Gethsemane. Oh, okay. He's a servant. And then he asked, well, why? Tell me our itinerary. Where are we planning? He probably said, you're going. So here Malchus goes, and here he is. Okay? I feel like he was just, he's there. Next thing you know, Peter takes one ear off. So here, like I said, he could have blamed a lot of different people. He could have blamed the high priest. How could he, as good as I've been to him? I've always served him so good. How could he put me in this situation that I lose an ear? How could he put me in harm's way after all the things I've done for him? And that pity, I guess you would call it, can become bitterness, and that bitterness could become hatred. And before long, he could probably not even stand beside the high priest. The guy that's employed him, the guy that's give him an opportunity, hate it. This represents, I believe, family a lot of times in our lives. Who knows? The higher we think of somebody, the more stock we put into somebody's life, when they let us down, it hurts us the most. The greater you think the greater the expectation of somebody in your life, when they let you down, that equal amount is how bad you're going to hurt. The guy that you don't think much of, when he hurts you, you ain't going to care. Because you didn't really think much of it. You kind of expected that out of him. Now the one that you thought would never in a million years do something, when that happens, that's when it hurts. Perfect example here. Let's all be honest. When somebody gives us a hateful look at Walmart down the frozen food aisle, because we bumped into them, do we really think about that very long? By the time we're in the next aisle, we forgot it. Now when somebody gives you a hateful look across the Thanksgiving table, how long does that stick with you? Till the next holiday. And you can tell them how you feel. Or tell other people how you feel about it. But they ain't listening. But that bothers us, doesn't it? Closer, somebody can give me a mean looking on the road because I'm driving too fast, and I'm like, I hate that. But my wife can give me a mean look, and I'm thinking, what have I done? Or, whatever. More like, I've not done much. So probably what she's done. But it bothers us more. So I guarantee you, if he would have allowed that to happen, it would have eat up at him. How could he? But here's the real thing. He didn't know any more than, he didn't know that's going to happen. We've got to remember this, okay? We can't see the future, right? We're not omnipotent. God is. Would everybody agree with that? We can't. And we don't need to expect other people to be able to either. A lot of times we expect people to be able to do things we know we can't do. But we expect them to be able to do it. Malcolm's going to really easy say, how come he should have known that was going to happen? Why did he have me there? What's going on? He's human just like Malcolm was. He didn't know that was going to happen, probably, I guarantee it. But it happened. Let's remember that. People are people. We may have family that's done us wrong. We may have people that's put us in bad situations and allowed us to get hurt. But I guarantee you, holding a grudge for the rest of your life isn't going to be the answer. It isn't going to heal the hurt. Him pouting at the high priest wasn't ever going to fix his ear. Okay, there's him. Who's the next person you could obviously be mad at? He could have been mad at himself. Why did I come on this trip? Why did I do this? And Jesus ain't done nothing wrong. What am I doing here? Why was I against him? Why didn't I tell them no? Why didn't I stand up against them and say no? And he could have beat himself up like crazy. Same thing with the high priest. Would that have fixed his ear? No. Would that have fixed anything? No. Here's what would have happened. It would have started out as frustration in himself, and before long it would turn into full-blown depression. Couldn't stand to look at himself every time, just beating himself up all the time. And before long, that hurt that is a physical wound would become a mental wound and then a spiritual wound, and he's done. Yep. Can I tell you today, just like the high priest didn't know what's going to happen, you don't know what's going to happen either. Sometimes we just make bad decisions, and sometimes they aren't our fault. It just happens. Sometimes we make bad decisions, and really, they're not really bad decisions, they're just ignorant decisions. And what I mean by that is we just didn't know. He didn't know what was all going to go down up there. So therefore, he shouldn't hold himself accountable for what happened. It ain't his fault. He just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Today, if you're in a place of your life where you're hurting because you feel like you just put yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time moment, the Lord did not call you to beat yourself up over it. Understand that today. That ain't what His will for your life is. Don't do that. It ain't going to fix anything. Next thing is this. Who else could he have beat up? He could have been mad at Peter, and everyone would have said, that's the guy to be mad at. Peter, what is he doing? Peter is supposed to be a follower of Jesus. This man, Jesus never preaches to cut people's ears off. He didn't have one sermon about that. He never led a Bible study that was titled to cut someone's ear off. How could he? He represented Jesus. And he could have said, you know what? I don't like Peter. He's a big hypocrite. And I'm not going to be around Peter because he's a big hypocrite. And he could have held that against Peter. But would that have fixed his ear? No. Get the correlation here, dog. his ear. None of this stuff's going to fix his ear. What? I can't believe him. Who's ever heard this? I don't go to church because of hypocrites. They're the worst. And I agree that a hypocrite is not a good thing. We don't need to be one. But let me tell you, I like how people say, I won't go to church because of hypocrites. You go to a hypocrite everywhere you go, you're around hypocrites. It ain't just church. I mean, think about it. Me and my family go to the occasional Razorback game. And my stepmom acts completely goofy. And don't know anything that's going on. She's from South Arkansas. She gets the opportunity to let that out a little bit. Hollers and whatnot. She is a hypocrite. Right? And there's other people that are the same way. He don't know what he's cheering about over there. He has no clue. This one over here, that ain't even us. He's cheering. What's going on? Go to a ball game and you'll see those people. You know, the one that cheers and everybody tries to pull them down. No, not now, not right now. That was against us. But I've yet to hear somebody say, I'm not going to another ball game because of hypocrites. Has anyone ever said that? I've never heard it. I've said, I'm not going with her anymore. If she embarrasses our family, and I'd say it with her being here, then Dad would amen me. But I've never said I'm not going to any more Razorback games because there's too many people there that don't know what's going on and cheer anyway. No. Life is full of people that are misleading. Life is full of people that act one way and do another. But that doesn't control where and who I go. And that doesn't control who I serve. It's just they're people. Today, I think that's powerful. I think there's a lot of people that use that as a reason not to go. I don't want to be around a hypocrite. But then they go everywhere else that is around hypocrites. Who else could he have blamed? He could have blamed Jesus. He could have blamed the one that's eventually going to heal him. But he could have said, how could he? He let him do that. This is his whole operation here. And here I've lost an ear. I don't want no part of him. I don't want no part of what he's about. And he could have took a bad situation, a situation where he was hurt, and he could have somehow distorted it in his mind and allowed the devil to harden his heart, and the guy that's eventually going to heal him, he could have walked away from him and said, don't even get near me. And as silly as that is, people do it every day. The person they need most, they allow the devil to control their mind, control their heart, and they walk away from the one that can heal them and say, don't get near me, don't touch me, I don't ever want to be around you again. That is a sad, sad, sad thing. That's what he could have done. Thank goodness he didn't. Today, can I tell you today, do not, just if you're sick, you ain't going to push the doctor away, are you? Don't touch me. No, you're going to say, figure out what's wrong with me. Fix me. In the same way, do not push Jesus away, because he's the only one that really, really can fix you. He's the only one that can heal you. And not just heal you temporarily. He can heal you eternally. That's worth something. Any way you look at it. So the next thing, it was a matter of trust. It hurt him. The people he trusted, the people he should have been able to trust, he could have blamed them. Look what David said in Psalm 41:9. He said, even my close friend, someone I trusted, one who shared my bread, has turned against me. David says, hey, when it's people you know, it hurts worse. So let's remember that. Peter was close to Jesus. Of course, Jesus is there. The high priest was his boss himself. The next thing is this. Not only was it a matter of trust, it was a matter of timing. I talked about this just a second ago. You know good and well he didn't wake up that morning and say, baby, give me a hug. It's the last time you see me with one ear, with two ears. Next time I'll have one chopped plumb off. Never be able to hear you yell out again. I doubt he woke up that morning and said, hey, I'm going to get Jesus. One of them's going to chop off my ear. No. He woke up like every other morning. Who knows, a lot of times, we've talked about this on Wednesdays a lot, and Sunday nights, but who knows, a lot of times, the worst hurts are the ones we never see coming. I talked about it the other day. The dog that's growling at me on the chain, the pit bull that's going to rip my arm off if it gets off the chain, that one really ain't the most dangerous dog to me. Because number one, I know he's mean and I can avoid him. And I see him there and I know I'm not going to take my eyes off of him. Now, the Chihuahua that says, oh, pet me, I'm friendly. And then you do and he rips off a finger, that's the most dangerous dog. Because you didn't see that one coming. He looked a lot friendlier than what he was. He looked like something he wasn't. He caught you off guard. And that's how hurt is oftentimes. The worse the hurt is the hurt that, that's almost a rap or something. The worse the hurt is the hurt that, don't stop. Oh, come on, somebody. The hurt that is the worst is the one you don't see coming. The one you can't brace yourself for. The one that you weren't ready, you weren't prepared for. That's the one that's the hardest to get up from. Praise God. Let's move on from the hurt that's hurt. Let's look at the next character here. How about it? Peter, the swordsman. Peter's intentions were good, but his actions were a nightmare. Let's talk about the guy that was on the other end of the sword. Here's the deal. If you're in battle 101, who would you say is on the good end of the sword here? Peter, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, in battle, I'm definitely going to want to be the one on the handle end.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say, well, you hear about that guy got chopped up with a handle of a sword. You never hear about that. But Jesus says, hey, you're on the bad end of it. Here Peter is, he's got the sword out. And let's look and see what Peter does here that causes this whole deal. Here's the things that happens that tend to hurt people. Okay? The first is this. We fail to pray. Remember just a little bit before this? Where are they at before this happens? They're at the garden. Who is snoozing? Peter is. He's sleeping. He's tired. Jesus says, we need to pray. It's important we pray right now. Peter failed to pray. Let's look at the next thing. He failed to obey. Let's look at this. I think this is big here. Let's look at Luke 22:49. I just said that wrong. Oh yeah, Luke 22:49. I'm sorry, 22. Yeah, I'm right. What was happening there? It says, when Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, they said, Lord, should we strike with our swords? Right? When they seen what's going to happen, they said, Lord, should we defend you? Lord, should we fight? Should we go at them? Should we attack? And then what happens next? Let's look here. What happens next is, and one of them struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. Did you ever hear an answer in there from Jesus? There was a question and a reaction to it. There was never an answer. They said, should we attack? And Peter, disobediently, without waiting for, what would Jesus have said? No. But with disobedience, without ever waiting for another thing, he just does it. He attacks. Can I tell you what is one of the most dangerous things in the world? It's a church person that is defending God in a way that's not godly. Because they represent God, but they're not representing Him accurately. So people that don't know could very easily misinterpret Jesus for what Peter's doing. Even though Peter is defending Jesus in a way that Jesus doesn't want him to. Does that make sense? Let's be careful that we're not attacking people and using God's name in it, because God does not attack people. Let's make sure we're not attacking people in the name of Jesus, because Jesus doesn't attack people. Jesus attacks sin. He does not attack people. Jesus defeats sin. He doesn't defeat people. So let's make sure that when we are out there living for Jesus, let's make sure the things we are saying represent Jesus accurately. Because I'm telling you, that is very dead. How easy would it have been for Malchus to see what Peter had done and think, that represents Jesus. He must have told him to do that. And walk away and live the rest of his life maimed. The rest of his life hurt. Not whole. Just a part of who he really should be. All because somebody did something in the name of Jesus that Jesus never said to do. In this it says we tend to hurt people when we fail to pray, we fail to obey, and we choose to stray. In Matthew 26:56 it says that all the disciples deserted him and fled. If things aren't right vertically, they'll never be right horizontally. Does that make sense? If your life isn't what it needs to be right here, it's not ever going to be what it needs to be spiritually. If what you're doing is, if you're going the wrong direction in life, can I tell you that's going to affect every part of your life? Sometimes we think, well, I'm just going to do this and it just affects me. Who knows that nothing you do just affects you? It affects everybody in every aspect of your life. If you do something that harms you physically, it will also harm you mentally and it will also harm you spiritually. If you do something that harms you mentally, it will also harm you physically and it will also harm you spiritually. If you do something that harms you spiritually, it will also, you get the point.
Yeah.
Everything affects everything. And if we can grab a hold of that, we'll live a lot better life. If we don't, we will put ourselves in some bad spots. Everything affects everything. But now we look at the best guy in the whole bunch. That's Jesus, the Savior. Let's look at what he does in this situation. First, let's look at his will. Despite a bloody ear, his will is going to be accomplished. What's he tell Peter? He says, hey, couldn't I could call on thousands of angels. You don't have to defend me. I've got plenty in my arsenal to defend myself. But my will wouldn't be done. The plan wouldn't work out if I did that. I got to go through with this deal. Can I tell you today, despite your hurt, Jesus' will still be done. You may think, you know what, I'm hurt and I'm not doing nothing. I'm quit. So-and-so didn't smile at me at church, so I'm done. I'm not doing nothing else. I'm quitting. I'm just going to sit in my pew. That little old chubby preacher didn't eat 3 of my deviled eggs. He just ate 2. And he ate 3 of the other person's deviled eggs. Whew. I promise you, I ate everybody's deviled eggs. But I mean, that's a joke, but there really is some petty stuff people get upset about. Not really that, maybe, but I've heard of people quit churches because so-and-so didn't shake their hand. As silly as that is, I've heard of it. I've heard of people get mad because so-and-so didn't sing their song. Oh, that's petty. I've heard of it. The devil will use little petty stuff to get people riled up. And we can think, because I'm hurt, I'm done, and I'm not letting this thing ain't going to move forward. Jesus is always moving forward. I think there's nothing sadder than a hurt Christian sitting on the sideline as God's beautiful thing is moving on. Jump on it. Jump on it. His will. It's going to happen. It's going to work. The next thing is this, his work. I love this about Jesus, y'all. You've got a guy with an ear cut off. What's he do? He walks up and he heals the hurting, doesn't he? He heals the hurting. But he also changes the hurt. Only Jesus could do that. Only Jesus could fix both sides of the sword. Only Jesus could fix both sides of the spectrum. But he didn't. His work is good, can I tell you that? If he fixes you, you're fixed. If he fixes you, you're fixed. If he fixes the one that hurt you, they're fixed too. Remember that. Don't keep carrying that over their head. Can I tell you what's better than being right? Being reconciled. That's really what keeps people from being reconciled. They want to carry around this right to be right. I'm right, you're wrong. And they carry this around, this right to be right. And because they've got that, they can never pick up reconciliation, which is way better, because that fixes stuff. That makes relationships mend. That makes people feel better. Instead, they just want to carry around how, hey, no, what you did was wrong and I was right. And can I tell you who oftentimes won't let the hurter ever heal? It's the one they hurt. Because they'll never fully forgive them. Every time they're around them, they won't let them forget about it. How tough would that have been on Peter if every time Peter was walking down the road, old Malchus showed up? So remember that time you cut my ear off? How tough would that have been to minister? How hard would that have been? Here he is walking up to the gate, beautiful, about to absolutely change a man's life, and then Malchus showed up and said, hey Peter, remember that time you cut my ear off? Remember that time you hurt me? Would that not be a stumbling block? Would that not be hard to minister around? Would that not be hard to be better around if you had somebody constantly coming up to you and reminding you of how you hurt them? But that's what we often do. We get hurt, and then we follow, not maybe literally follow, but every time we're around the person that hurt us, we will not let them forget about it. It may not be verbally, but it can be in a look. It can be in our body language is. It can be what we say to other people. But we never let people let go of what they did to us. So therefore, they're always having to carry on the stumbling block. They're trying to be better. Jesus is working in them, but we won't let it. We keep being there trying to mess it up. Can I tell you what we are when we do that? I'm about to be real blunt. It's Memorial Day tomorrow. So everybody's going to have time off to stew on this and get mad at me. Eat some food, you'll forget about what I said. But if we do that, we're working for the devil. If Malchus would have went around and bashed Peter every chance he get, would that have been the Lord working in Malchus, or would that have been the devil working in Malchus? That would have been the devil. And if we go around and do not forgive people, if we go around and don't let people heal, if we go around and remind people of all their wrongdoings, I can promise you we're not working for Jesus. Because that ain't what he does. I think he'll be quiet. And the last thing is this, and this is what's great. He has a will, he has a work, and he has a willingness. That's like the best part. Because you know what? If he can do, if Jesus, imagine Jesus and all his power and all his wonder, what if he just didn't want to do it? That'd be would it matter? If I can, I'm trying to think of something awesome I can do. I can't do a lot of things. But if I can make the best ribeye steak in the world, but I didn't want to, would that talent be worth anything? Or if I could make the best steak in the world and I just chose not to, I didn't have the willingness to do it, would that not be the worst talent ever because it wouldn't matter? No one would ever know I had it. Here's the thing about Jesus. Not only does he have all the power, not only does he have all the ability, not only does he have the perfect will, he also has the willingness to do it all the time. Constantly pour it out. That's good. That's great. And that's what happens here. He had the ability to fix a man, and he did it. He fixed his ear. And he had the ability to heal Peter, to minister to Peter, and he did. And that's what he'll do for you. Don't ever think that God doesn't want to work in your life. He does. Don't ever think Jesus doesn't want to, he just don't want to deal with me. Yes, he does. Let him. He'll do it, I promise, every time. Let's all stand. Glory, glory. I want to say this before we close. Don't ever think it's easy to say I'm the one that got hurt. It's always hard to admit you're the one that did the hurting. Right? It's a lot easier to be Malchus than it is to be Peter. Because nobody wants to admit they hurt somebody. Nobody wants to admit that. Even if you know you did, you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to deal with it. Can I say this to you? And this is to encourage you. Jesus understands those that are hurting. He hurt. But he also understands those that did the hurting. He understands those just the same. Sometimes we say, it's beating the hurting. It's easy to say, Jesus understands because he was beat and he was bruised and all these things. So you feel like sometimes that's a little better spot to get out of. But when you're the one that did the hurting, sometimes you feel like you kind of feel like the bad guys. You feel like the guys that maybe did the hurting of Jesus. Can I tell you, Jesus took the beating, but he loved the beaters. He still loved those guys. He still loved those that took him and did all those things to him. He still loved them. Hebrews 4:15 says, "For we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weakness." So no matter what you're going through today, no matter what end of the sword you're on, know today you have a Savior that can fix you and make you better than you've ever been. And He's for you, and He wants to do anything. He wants to do everything that He has called you to be. He wants to do that. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father,